Hey guys, August Rosado with Today in Bible Prophecy Ministries. I don't know if Facebook decided to cut us off for some stupid reason or whatever the case is, but the video stopped for no apparent reason at all. But we're back on and we're going to do it again. And I just want to make sure that, here we go, we're back on. So I'm going to leave it like that because for some reason I'm not seeing any of the names showing up on my screen here. I can see it on my phone, the people who show up to watch live, but I can't see it on my screen. So I don't know what's going on or why the live video even stopped. But I will say this, all those guys behind the scenes there are devious individuals. If you say one thing that's not politically correct, then they'll cut you right off. So just goes to show you how devious the owners of Facebook really are. And I know you're watching Facebook, so there was nothing that I said wrong for you to cut my video off. So anyway, we're here and I want to talk about the Moabite prophecy. And so I'm just going to start from the beginning again, since we were cut off for no apparent reason. I want to read out of Numbers 24, verses 14 through 17. If we have to find some other means of live streaming other than Facebook, then that's what we'll do. And so, because this is really getting out of hand. But anyway, in Numbers 24, in verse 14, it says, "And now, behold, I go unto my people. Come therefore, and I will advertise thee what this people shall do to thy people in the latter days." And he took up a parable and said, Balaam the son of Beor hath said, that the man whose eyes are open hath said, he hath said, which heard the words of God, and knew the knowledge of the Most High, which saw the vision of the Almighty, fallen into a trance, but having his eyes open. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and shall smite the corners of Moab and destroy all the children of Seth. So again, before we were cut off for no apparent reason, I want to talk about the Moabite prophecy. In Numbers 24, we have a prophecy of Balaam, in which he foretells the happiness of Israel. He was hired to do the total opposite. Balaam was hired by Balak, the king of Moab, to curse Israel. And he wanted Balaam to do it through means of enchantments, through means of sorceries, because Balaam was a Jewish sorcerer. Despite the king of Moab hiring him to curse Israel, he does the total opposite. And what he does is he blesses Israel. As we read in Numbers 24, verse 1, where it says, "And when Balaam saw that it pleased the Lord to bless Israel, he went not as other times to seek enchantments or sorceries or witchcraft, but he set his face toward the wilderness." So instead of cursing Israel, he ends up blessing Israel. Balaam knew he would be in serious trouble with the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, if he pronounced a curse against the Israelites. As we see in verse 9, as it clearly states. In verse number 9, it says this, "He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? Blessed is he that blesseth thee, and cursed is he that cursed thee." Now, Numbers 24:9 is parallel with Genesis chapter 12 and verse number 3. In Genesis 12:3, it says, God told Abraham, "I will bless those who bless thee, and curse those who curseth thee. And in thee shall all the families of the earth be blessed." What God is telling Abraham is that he would bless those who would bless Israel, and he would curse those who would curse Israel. Because through Abraham's seed, through his loins, shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Families, mishpocha in Hebrew. Because through Abraham, through Isaac, through Jacob, through the Davidic line would come the Messiah, who would be a blessing to the whole entire world. So Numbers 24:9 is parallel with Genesis chapter 12 and verse number 3. Now, Balaam, another enemy of Israel, blessed the Israelites, not once, not twice, but he blesses them on 3 different occasions. And that made Balak extremely apoplectic. It made him so angry. It made him so mad that what we see in Numbers chapter 24 and verse number 10, it says, and Balak's anger was kindled against Balaam, and he smote his hands together. And Balak said unto Balaam, I called thee to curse mine enemies, and behold, thou hast altogether blessed them these 3 times. I mean, he was so apoplectic. That's just a fancy word that means he was angry. He was mad because he hired Balaam. He paid Balaam to curse Israel. And instead, Balaam blesses Israel on 3 different occasions. Now, Balaam was a Jew in the Bible who practiced enchantments. He practiced sorcery for hire. And that was the reason why that Balak hired him, so that he would curse the Jewish people. I should say. Balaam was later killed by Joshua and the Israelites as they conquered Canaan during the land conquest. In Joshua chapter 13 verse 22, it says, Balaam also, the son of Beor, the soothsayer, the sorcerer, the enchantment, did the children of Israel slay with the sword among them that was slain by them. So Balaam was killed by Joshua and the Israelites as they made their conquest throughout the land of Canaan. Now, the writers of the New Testament have nothing favorable to say about Balaam due to his reputation as a sorcerer, due to his reputation as a soothsayer. Peter the Apostle mentions Balaam in 2 Peter 2:15, where Peter said, which have forsaken the right way and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Bosor, who loved the wages of righteousness. Again, Balaam was in the business of making money off of soothsaying, making money off of sorcery, witchcraft, if you will. And that's the reason why he was hired by Balak, the king of Moab, to curse Israel. Now, Jude pulls no punches with Balaam as well, has nothing favorable to say about Balaam. In Jude verse 11, Jude says, woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Korah. Jude mentions 3 unscrupulous individuals: Cain, who murdered his brother Abel in Genesis chapter 4, Balaam, who used witchcraft as ways of making money, Numbers 24, and Korah, who led a rebellion against Moses, undermining Moses' authority. Well, just like today, you got people in the church that are undermining the authority of the pastor. The elders, the deacons, and the boards that want to run the show and tell the pastor what to do. You're on wrong ground there. John the Apostle makes mention of Balaam as well. Again, he makes mention of Balaam in unfavorable terms. As we see in Revelation chapter 2, verse 14, John said, but I have a few things against thee, because thou hast there them that hold the doctrine of Balaam, who taught Balak, that was the king of Moab, to cast a stumbling block before the children of Israel, to eat things sacrificed unto idols, and to commit fornication. So the New Testament has nothing favorable to say against this guy we read about in Numbers 24, against Balaam the soothsayer. Now, what was John in Revelation 2:15 talking about? Well, obviously, the event John the Apostle speaks of is right there in Numbers chapter 24. But despite Balaam's reputation, he made a very interesting prophecy concerning Israel. In Numbers 24 and verse 17, I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not nigh. There shall come a star. Remember, I told you to circle that word star. There shall come a star out of Jacob, Yaakov, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel, and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Seth. In other words, he will one day shatter the foreheads of Israel's enemies, as well as the sons of tumult. Those who make a tumult against Israel, those who seek to want to destroy the Jewish people. One day that star will come out of Israel and will destroy the enemies of Israel. Balaam's oracle concerning Israel is for the last days. Numbers chapter 24 and verse 14, where he talks about, well, the latter days. It deals with Israel's future. It deals with future Israel, which was distant from the time that Balaam wrote this prophecy between the 9th and the 14th century, or I should say the 14th and the 9th century BC. In verse 17, Balaam mentions a star. Now, the Hebrew word for star is kochav. Kochav, C-O-H-A-V, kochav. Now, this can be used metaphorically for a king. How do you say king in Hebrew? Melech. So, this star would be a king. This star would come out of Israel. Now, how do we know this star is referring to Israel's king in the future? How do we know this star is referring to the Messiah, the one who would be royalty, the one who would hold the scepter? Well, remember what Jesus said in Revelation 22:16? I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning kochav. I am the bright and morning star. So we know this star in Numbers 24:17 must be referring to Israel's Messiah, the Mashiach. It must be referring to Israel's future king, who would one day reign as, well, Revelation chapter 19, verse 16, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And not only that, this king is confirmed by holding a scepter. He is holding a scepter that shall arise out of Israel. He is an Israelite. This king, this star, would be a Jew. A scepter king being a part of royal insignia. And not only that, this king would come from Judah. This king is confirmed by holding the scepter. Now, we see this out of Genesis chapter 49, verse 10. The scepter shall not depart out of Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh come. And unto him shall the gathering of the people be. This king would be a royalty. He would come from the tribe of Judah. That's where we get the word Jew from. A Jew is someone from Judea. This king would come from Judea. He would come from the tribe of Judah. And he would be of royalty. He would hold the scepter. Now, the writer of Hebrews confirms this in Hebrews 7:14. For our Lord sprang from the tribe of Judah. And yet, when we read in Numbers 24, when it talks about waking up the lion, he said, who would disturb that lion from his sleep? Well, nobody would want to disturb a lion from his sleep, as we read in verse number 9. He couched, he lay down as a lion, and as a great lion, who shall stir him up? The star, this Messiah, this king, would be a lion. That's Revelation 5:5. John the Apostle was told to weep not. Behold, the lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book and to loose the seals thereof. So we see that out of Genesis chapter 49 and verse number 10. This future king shall strike the corners of Moab, or in Hebrew, Moav, M-O-A-V. What does that mean? The word for corners here is best understood as he will strike the head. This king, this Messiah, this star would strike at the skull, at the head of his enemy. In Jesus' first coming, he dealt Satan a nasty head wound with his death, burial, and resurrection. But at the same time, Jesus' heel would be bruised. That's the prophecy. That's called the Protoevangelium. The first time the gospel is mentioned in the Old Testament, out of Genesis 3:15. Out of Genesis chapter 3 and verse number 15. He said, God said, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The crucifixion of the Messiah dealt a gashing head wound to Satan. But at the same time, the bruise of the Messiah would be healed. Psalm 22:16, they pierced my hands and my feet. So Satan today is walking around with a gashing head wound. But one day Jesus will deal to Satan the final death blow, the fatal death blow. But right now, Satan's walking around with a gashing head wound. So that's what it means when he says he will strike the corners of Moab. He would strike at the head. He will strike at the skull of his enemy, the Messiah, the king, this star, who would be royalty, who would hold the scepter. You know what's interesting is that the Times of Israel reported of an archaeological find of a Moabite cylinder description that describes a people called the Hebrews that were in the land at that time. And it was very disheartening to the people of Moab that they were being overrun by these Hebrews, according to that cylinder description. That's the reason why Balak, king of Moab, was so disturbed that the Israelites have overrun my land. They've overrun Moab. I need to get rid of them. And that's the reason why I'm going to hire Balaam, this Jewish sorcerer, to curse the Jewish people, to drive them out of my land. And that discovery of that Moabite cylinder, which is a long oval cylinder, if you will, that describes the Hebrews being in the land at that time, even describing the people of Gad were in the land at that time. And so they say that that cylinder dates back at least 3,500 years. It was discovered during ongoing excavations at the biblical site of Atarot. Today it's called Kirbat Atarutz, and it is on the eastern side of the Jordan River of what is today Jordan. Atarut is mentioned in Numbers chapter 32 in verse number 3, which is located today in the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. The Israelites were in this area when Joshua divided the land allotment. Only 3 Hebrew tribes settled on the eastern side of the Jordan River. Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh settled on the eastern side of the Jordan River. The remaining tribes settled on the western side of the Jordan River of what is Israel today. But Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh dwelt on the eastern side of the Jordan River in another country, in what is today the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. Now, Moab was judged. Moab was the son of Lot and the brother of Ammon, both the sons of Lot, Abraham's nephew. He had Ammon and Moab through an incestuous relation with his daughters. After God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, after Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt, his daughters got him drunk, went into their father, and these 2 illegitimate boys were born. It's out of Genesis 19:37 and 38. Now, Jordan today consists of what would be Ammon in northern Jordan and Moab of what is today central Jordan. In Genesis chapter 15 and verse number 16, it concerns the prophecy of Israel's bondage. God told Abraham in Genesis 15:16, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Well, what does that mean? Well, after Israel's bondage for some 400 years, God would judge Egypt. After Israel's release from bondage, God would use the Israelites to judge the Canaanites and drive them out of the land. Because mind you, in Canaan, you had a conglomeration of different Canaanites. There were Canaanites, there were Amorites, there were Jebusites, there were Hittites. You had different forms of Canaanites or different conglomerations of Canaanites throughout the country at that time. And God wanted them gone. And God told Joshua and the Israelites, you drive these people out of the land. I want you to drive them out of the promised land. And again, that was fulfilled. This happened under Joshua. And that would be fulfilled when God judged them. Now, in Amos chapter 1, we see God's judgment on Israel's neighbors because of their harsh treatment toward the Jewish people. But when we get to Amos chapter number 2, we see God's judgment on Moab. And Moab would be destroyed. Moab would be destroyed. However, we see a prophecy of Moab being spared in the tribulation period. And we see this in Daniel chapter 11 and verse number 40. When the Antichrist in the future is overthrowing all these countries who would attack or question his authority for that matter, one country escapes the destruction of the Antichrist. One nation is spared. And that nation would be Edom, Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon. What nation is that today? Well, that would be an Arab nation east of the Jordan River. That is Jordan today. And as I said already, Jordan in biblical times were made up of those three ancient people. The Ammonites dwelt in northern Jordan, the Moabites in central Jordan, and Esau and the Edomites dwelt in southern Jordan. Jordan consists of those three ancient people. 2/3 of northern Jordan came from Lot, his two boys, Ammon and Moab. And 1/3 of lower Jordan came from Jacob's brother Esau, the Edomites. Esau was the father of the Edomites. That's Genesis chapter 36, verses 1, 8, and 9. Now, why would the Antichrist spare Jordan when he's overthrown all these other countries in the tribulation period? Because the Jews will be held up in southern Jordan in what is called Petra. Edom, that was their capital when Esau dwelt there at that time. That's where the surviving Jewish remnant will be protected by God when they flee from the Antichrist at the midway point of the tribulation period. Jesus will return at tribulation's end and pick up the surviving Jewish remnant there at Petra. Now we read out of Isaiah 63. In Isaiah chapter number 63, verses 1 through 6. Isaiah 63, 1 through 6, it says this: Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments from Bozrah? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. At the end of the tribulation period, at his second coming, Jesus will go to Edom. He will go to Petra, pick up the surviving Jewish remnant that fled from the Antichrist at the midway point in the tribulation period. He will bring them to Jerusalem, where Zechariah 14:4 says his feet will touch the Mount of Olives. Folks, the stage is being set as the enemies of Israel will once again make a move to destroy the Jewish people. God will intervene and destroy these nations, as he stated in Zechariah chapter 12 and verse number 9. God said, and it shall come to pass in that day that I will seek to destroy all nations that come against Jerusalem. What is that telling you? The rapture of the church is so very close, closer than we think. All we can say to that is, come quickly, Lord Jesus. And I always love to end off with this beautiful Aramaic expression, Maranatha. Even so come, Lord Jesus. Well, I know we got many in the room today And I know we got Kimberly L. Merrill, Deborah Stanfield Ross, Anders Ekman, Vicky Delaney, Burnham, Stephen Mitch Smith, Jenny Perrin. My wife, Patty, is watching. We got Danny Iller Jr. Wow. We got Mark, I'm thinking, let me see. Hatlestad, I hope I got that right. I'm sorry if I messed your name up. Rachel Waldron Rodriguez, Chuck Snow, Christy Miles, good to see you, Christy. Dr. Jeff Amsbaugh, Eric Oler. Hey, Eric. Good to see you, Timmy. We got cut off the first time, so I'm glad you guys had an opportunity to tune in the second time. And so if you're just coming in late, we're going to upload this video onto my page as well as to YouTube. So if you come in late, you can watch it again in its entirety. The Moabite Prophecy. I also noticed that Verba for Due Pass, we just ended the show, but I'm going to upload this again so that you can watch it in its entirety. And Ron Lerner. Yeah, Ron Lerner, Timiola. We'll be getting back with you with that. But anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If not, then I'll give you a heads up on the time. But, guys, again, I'll be leaving for Israel September 16th. And Dr. Todd Baker and I will be sharing the gospel with the Jewish people. Everything's paid for. My airfare, my hotels, my food's covered. What's not covered is car rental and gas expense. If you can please help us out with car rental and gas expense. Whatever gift you give, it can be $5, $10, $15, $20, $25. No gift too big or too small to help cover car rental and gas expense. If you can do that, you're having a hand in helping me share the gospel of Jews in Israel come September 16th. To put a complete Hebrew Bible in the hands of the Jewish people. If you can do that, that would be greatly appreciated. You say, August, how can I help? All you got to do is go to my website, todayinbibleprophecy.org. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, click the PayPal button. Click that button, and then just put Israel Gospel Outreach and put whatever amount you feel the Lord's telling you to give. And whatever you give will go toward the car rental and gas expense. I don't need help with anything else. Everything else is covered. I just need help with car rental and gas expense. So, whatever you want to give, that would be greatly appreciated. If you want to go with me to Israel in March of 2020, make those preparations now. We just added Mount Nebo onto our tour without any price increase. It'll be Mount Nebo in northern Jordan and Petra that we just talked about in southern Jordan, in addition to our Israel trip. Cost is going to be around $35.50 per person, all inclusive. That covers everything, Israel and Jordan. Hotels, buffet breakfast, dinner, round-trip airfare, transportation, all that's covered under that price. Come with me to Israel. Discover the Jewish roots of your Christian faith. See the Bible come alive to you and see where your home will be for 1,000 years. So if you want more information about that, just send me a private chat through Facebook Messenger. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Don't forget to join me tomorrow afternoon. The starting time will be 1 p.m. unless something changes. I'll let you know as we look at another Bible prophecy update. So remember, keep looking up. Jesus is coming soon, sooner than we think. And Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And we will see you tomorrow afternoon. God bless, guys. Enjoy your day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.